to put the Charter in the context of a broad civil liberties awareness, usually traced back to the United Nations Declaration of Human Rights, in which, by the way, a professor at McGill, John Humphreys, was one of the two principal draftspersons. Then you had the European Convention on Human Rights in 1952, and that was, as indeed the UN Declaration was, a reaction against totalitarianism and the disregard for human rights and a desire to create a better world. And since 1952 there have developed in different regions and countries statements of principle which are considered so important as to override the majority view expressed in a parliament or in Congress or in a legislature. So there is an international conversation amongst courts, judges, lawyers, academics, non-governmental organizations about the proper scope of certain rights, for example, freedom of expression. At one extreme you have the Americans and the First Amendment, which is almost an absolute right. It's extremely difficult to pass a law restricting even violent video games and so on. At the other extreme you'll have countries that are very big in promoting the idea of human rights, but which are not very good at observing them. And they will often have a constitution that promises free speech, which sits alongside censorship and state control of the media, and so on. So when courts are faced with a freedom of expression case, as we are frequently in the Supreme Court of Canada, we will want to know what other courts in other places, in other circumstances, have considered the legitimate scope of the freedom. And in their own way, when they're considering their question, they will look at Canadian jurisprudence and see what we think. So I don't think one should have the idea of Canada as a kind of torchbearer lighting up the world. I think Canada should be seen as a very active and important participant in this ongoing conversation. But you will find, for example, the Constitutional Court of South Africa quite regularly cites Canadian cases. The Supreme Court of Israel quite frequently cites Supreme Court of Canada cases, as does the European Court in Strasbourg, as do other courts. Probably the main exception is the United States. They take the view that they're really not interested in what anybody else says, because theirs is a society which is a law unto itself, and they go back to 1791, and in their view that's what's important. But outside the United States there is a very substantial awareness amongst all courts that subscribe to charters of rights of what the jurisprudence is out there from different countries. Some more respected than others, and I think Canada is amongst the most respected.